Two pickup trucks sit in the same lot, about 40 feet apart. One man is here at 4:40 in the morning because he has no choice. The other one is here because he wanted a bagel. They came up together as apprentices 31 years ago, 4 months apart in age, and in all that time neither man's household has ever pulled more than a rounding error ahead of the other. $986,000 a year, combined. Probably not too far off from what your own household pulls in. The bagel guy retired at 62. He owns a boat that is, objectively, not a nice boat. His garage is half finished, and his Tuesdays are just Tuesdays. The other man is 67. His thermos is older than his truck. Ask him what went wrong and he'll tell you, honestly, that nothing did. No gambling problem. No boat he couldn't afford. He simply said yes about 8 times over 30 years to 8 completely ordinary things that everyone around him was also saying yes to. Most of those same things, you've said yes to as well. That's the real gap between them. Not income. Not luck. Not even discipline, really. 8 yes, and not one of them felt like a mistake on the day he made it. My name is Yank, and I've spent an unreasonable chunk of my life figuring out how people like you end up broke without ever doing anything that looks stupid. Subscribe and hit like, because there's a number waiting at the end of this video that gets uncomfortably close to $1 million. Quick disclaimer, I'm not your financial advisor, and none of this is advice. I'm just a guy with a spreadsheet and a grudge. I could throw statistics at you for 20 minutes and you'd forget every single one. So instead, meet Marisol. She's 34, cleans teeth for a living outside Columbus. Her husband Deacon drives a service van. Together they bring in $96,000 a year, the exact same household income as the 2 men with the trucks, and she doesn't yet know which one of those 2 lives she's headed toward. We're going to keep a running tally on Marisol's year, and I want you keeping one on your own. I'll hand you some of her numbers as we go. I'm holding a few back on purpose, because they hit harder together. Fair warning, it's not going to be pleasant. One housekeeping note first, because this channel is picky about it. Whenever you hear the word average, you need to know whether it's a mean or a median. Your mean gets dragged upward by whatever the richest 10% are doing. Your median is simply the person standing in the middle of your line. The gap between those 2 numbers is exactly where the lie tends to live. Item 1, your extended warranty. You probably know it by another name, the protection plan, the service contract, or my personal favorite, peace of mind. Picture this, you're standing at the counter, card already out, and the kid behind the register asks if you'd like to protect your purchase. 2 years of coverage for $240, on a laptop that cost you $1,100. There's a line building up behind you. He's waiting on your answer. The fastest way out of that conversation is to just say yes. That's yes number 1, and it costs you about 4 seconds. Here's what you actually bought, not insurance, but a bet where the house already calculated the odds, and also wrote them down. On plans like that, somewhere between 20 and 40% of the time, only about 5 cents of every dollar collected ever comes back out as an actual repair. The rest is pure margin. Your laptop was never really the product being sold. You were. You weren't sold a repair, you were quoted a price on a risk that somebody else had already measured, and you hadn't. On vehicle service contracts, Consumer's Checkbook found that if you pay $1,000 in, your average claim payout can land under $250. And here's the fact that should reframe every counter you ever stand at again, your warranty purchase can account for up to 35% of a retailer's total gross profit. On some sales floors, the warranty isn't a bolt-on to the television, the warranty is the actual product, and the television is just the bait. At a car dealership, it gets worse. The finance office buys that service contract for $600, turns around and sells it to you for $2,000, then rolls the whole thing into your auto loan. Which means you end up paying interest on your peace of mind for 6 straight years. Now, the honest counterargument, because you deserve one, if a $4,000 transmission failure would genuinely wreck your life, buying certainty at a bad price can still be the right move for you. Just know exactly what you're doing when you do it. You're not beating the odds, you're renting them. Deacon financed an $1,800 service contract on the van, plus 2 separate appliance plans. Marisol had completely forgotten she was paying $420 of your dollars a year for coverage she never used, and yes, it counts as yours too, because you've almost certainly bought this one as well. Item 2, and I need to walk you through a Tuesday night in March, because I'd bet you've lived through this exact Tuesday night yourself. Marisol is on the couch, laptop open, finally doing the thing you keep telling yourself you'll do, going through the bank app line by line. She spots a streaming subscription nobody in the house has opened since spring. $11.99 a month. She clicks cancel. The screen asks if she's sure. Then it offers her 3 months at half price. Then it wants her to pick a reason from a drop-down menu. Deacon says something from the kitchen. She glances up, then back down, and thinks, it's $12. I'll deal with it this weekend. And that's it. That's the entire mechanism, and it has happened to you too. She got tired at the exact moment she needed to be stubborn, and an entire team of people got paid to engineer that moment for her. So go ahead, open your phone right now and count your own subscriptions. Whatever number you land on is wrong, and it's wrong in the direction you're not going to enjoy. West Monroe found that people underestimate their own subscription spending by a factor of roughly 2.5. You'd probably guess around $86 a month. Marisol's forgotten subscriptions alone run $90 a month. And guesses across the board are all over the place, from $35 a month up past $200. Anyone who quotes you one clean number is selling you something, but every single study agrees on the direction of the error. You are never overestimating. And here's where it stops being your fault at all. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission finalized a rule known as click to cancel, meaning if you can sign up in 2 clicks, you should be able to cancel in 2 clicks as well. In July of 2025, 1 week before that rule was set to protect you, a federal appeals court vacated it entirely. So that drop-down menu is still perfectly legal. The retention offer is still legal. The 4 separate confirmation screens asking if you're really sure are all still legal. Marisol's Tuesday night wasn't a personal failing, it was a designed outcome. And you've had that exact same Tuesday night too. Item 3, your overdraft fees. And here I need you to stop thinking of yourself as the customer. Last year, banks pulled in over $12 billion from accounts just like yours in overdraft fees alone, according to the National Consumer Law Center. A quarter of you live in a household that paid at least one of those fees. Your typical hit is $35. Let's price that honestly, because a fee is really just a loan wearing nicer clothes. $35 charged on a $20 shortfall that gets covered 2 weeks later works out to an annualized rate north of 4,000%. Payday lenders would blush at what your own bank is charging you. Chase alone collected $1.1 billion from overdraft revenue. Wells Fargo brought in $924 million. Nobody accidentally stumbles into a 9-figure revenue line built entirely on your worst Thursday of the month. In December of 2024, you almost got a real fix. Regulators capped overdraft fees at $5 instead of $35, which would have put roughly $225 a year back in your pocket. It never took effect. Congress killed it before it could ever reach you. Signed away in May of 2025. And because of the procedural method they used to kill it, nobody can write a similar rule again without brand new legislation. I'm not telling you this so you'll be angry at a specific politician, I'm telling you so you understand the actual terms of engagement you're operating under. That money was real. It was yours. Somebody voted on it, and it went the other way. Keep your own tally running, because we're only 3 items in and Marisol is already out more than you probably guessed, and we haven't even touched the expensive ones yet. Item 4, lottery tickets. I'm going to be gentler with you here than you might expect, because if you buy them, you're not really the problem, you already know the odds are bad going in. Marisol picks up a few tickets a week, which runs her $340 a year, and if you'd asked her beforehand, she'd have guessed about 100. In states with lotteries, the average resident spends $321 a year, according to the Census Bureau, and that average includes toddlers. So if you actually play, your personal number is worse than that. Draw games hand you back somewhere between 50 and 60 cents on every dollar you spend. Scratch-off tickets do a bit better, at 65 to 80 cents. Here's the fact that should end the argument you're having with yourself: slot machines are legally required in most places to pay back 80 to 90%. Your state lottery gives you worse odds than the slot machine with the free drinks attached to it. And roughly 30% of what you spend goes straight to the state, which makes it less like a purchase and more like a tax, not on your income, not on your property, but on your hope, collected hardest from the people with the least reason to have any left. Item 5, your credit card interest, the single most expensive money you'll ever borrow, and the only loan you never actually shopped around for. Balances hit a record of roughly $1.28 trillion late last year, according to the New York Federal. Your rate is probably sitting around 21%. 45% of you carried a balance at some point this year. The average balance is close to $6,600, but remember what I said earlier about means versus medians: your actual neighbor in the middle of the line likely owes less than that. Here's the mechanic nobody ever bothers explaining to you: $10,000 at 20% interest, paid off at the minimum payment, takes 19 years to clear and ends up costing you $20,600. You will pay more in interest than the original purchase ever cost. You'll be making your final payment on a couch that's been sitting in a landfill since before your kid could walk. Your minimum payment isn't a payment plan at all, it's a setting chosen by your card issuer. Carefully calibrated to keep you just solvent enough to keep paying, and just indebted enough to keep needing them. And in April of 2025, the rule capping late fees at $8 got thrown out in court too. Marisol and Deacon carry about $7,900 in balances, which is probably close to your own number. At 22%, that's $1,760 a year, and neither one of them could tell you what they actually bought with it. Item 6, if there's an app on your phone with your favorite team's logo on it, this one belongs to you. Last year, people just like you wagered roughly $166 billion on sports, and the sportsbooks kept just under $17 billion of it, more than the entire lottery industry took in. But your total handle isn't actually the number that matters most here. Economists published a study this year in the Journal of Financial Economics, tracking household bank data as states legalized sports betting one by one. For every single dollar you wager, net investment into your own accounts fell by just over $2. $2 out of your future for every $1 that goes into the app. That's not me moralizing at you, that's a regression coefficient. And it hit hardest in the households that could least afford it, showing up as rising credit card balances and more overdrafts, which, remember, is a fee that somebody just voted to protect. That's the thing about all 8 of these items, they're not 8 separate leaks in your budget. They're all connected plumbing. And notice what the framing does to you: 31% of sports bettors describe gambling as an investment. Nobody ever says that about a scratch ticket, because your scratch ticket doesn't hand you candlestick charts and a cash out button that makes quitting feel like discipline. Now you might be thinking, fine, Yank, I don't gamble and I don't play the lottery, so 2 of these don't apply to me. Good, genuinely, but notice the move you just made, because it's the exact move that gets everybody. You scanned the list looking for the items that were somebody else's problem. That's the wrong audit to run. The 2 items still left on the list are the 2 that cost you the most. They apply to nearly everybody watching, and neither one of them ever sends you a bill you'd actually notice. Item 7 costs you the most and hurts the least, which is exactly why it works so well on you: the fees buried inside your investments. You will never physically feel this one. It never leaves your checking account. And you'll never receive a bill for it. Last year, 79% of actively managed large-cap funds underperformed the S&P 500, according to the SPIVA scorecard. Stretch that out to 15 years, across 22 different equity categories, and not a single one had a majority of its managers beat their own benchmark, 0 for 22. Meanwhile, your advisory fee sits right around 1% of your total assets every year. Marisol's is 1.15% on $180,000, a number she has never once said out loud as an actual dollar figure. 1% sounds like a rounding error to you, and that's exactly the design. So let's kill it with plain arithmetic: two identical $1 million portfolios, growing at 7% a year for 30 years. The one paying that 1% fee finishes $663,000 behind the other, not $63,000, $663,000. Because you don't just lose the fee itself, you lose everything that fee money would have gone on to earn, forever. Then there's the version you can't even see at all, if you work somewhere small. Your retirement plan is quietly more expensive than the one your friends get at the big company down the road. Plans holding under $1 million in assets pay around 1%, while plans over $1 billion pay about half that. For the exact same funds in the exact same market, your employer's headcount is effectively a tax on your own retirement. There's a fair counterargument here too: a fee-only fiduciary advisor who stops you from panic selling during a crash can absolutely earn more than that 1% back. Your real problem was never getting advice. Your problem is paying advisory-level prices for a portfolio that nobody is actually advising you on. And while we're in the room where things get sold to you on commission. One dishonorable mention: whole life insurance sold to someone who really only needed term coverage. First-year commissions on those policies run anywhere from 40% to over 100% of your entire first year's premium. Research published in the American Economic Review found that roughly 88% of universal life policies never end up paying out a death benefit at all. The product is priced expecting you to quit early. Being 26 years old with a pulse and a friendly cousin who happens to sell insurance is not, on its own, a reason to own one. Which leaves item 8, the big one, the object sitting in your own driveway right now, quietly depreciating while you watch this video. The average new car payment hit a record $770 this year. More than 1 in 5 of you are carrying a monthly payment over $1,000. Roughly 1 in 5 of your auto loans now run 84 months or longer, 7 years of your life financing an object that sheds about 23% of its value in year 1 alone, and 60% of its value over 5 years. But depreciation itself isn't your trap. Depreciation is just physics, and physics doesn't want anything from you personally. Here's your actual trap. Late last year, 29% of trade-ins just like yours were underwater, and the average amount owed above the car's actual value hit a record $7,200. Sit with what that really describes. You walk into a dealership owing $7,000 on a car that no longer exists in your life at all, and the fix you're handed is to roll that $7,000 onto a brand new car and finance the whole thing for 7 more years. It's effectively a mortgage on a ghost. Nobody in that room actually lied to you. Your finance manager was perfectly pleasant. And your paperwork was completely accurate. The system simply contains nobody whose job it is to look at you and say, hey, maybe don't. And here's the number you should tattoo on your wrist somewhere: if you're one of the 1 in 5 people paying over $1,000 a month, that $1,000 invested instead at 7% for 30 years becomes about $1.2 million. You didn't fail to become a millionaire, you traded that $1 million away in monthly installments, for a string of cars you never actually owned outright. The bagel guy buys a new one every 5 years, against the exact same car 3 years old. That gap runs $240 a month, plus interest on rolled over equity, which adds up to $3,360 a year. So here's Marisol's year, and I'm going through it slowly on purpose, because I want you running your own version alongside it. The warranties nobody in her house ever actually claimed on, $420, the overdraft fees I hadn't told you about yet, $225. Her lottery tickets, $340. Deacon sports betting, the account he'd swear he's basically breaking even on, $780. The subscriptions left over from that Tuesday night in March, $1,080. The credit card interest paying for nothing either of them could name if you asked, $1,760. The investment fees she has never once seen written down as an actual dollar figure, $250. And your favorite, the car, $3,360. That's just over $10,000 in a single year, from a household earning exactly what you earn, doing nothing you'd ever call irresponsible. 10% of everything they bring home, quietly evaporating into products engineered so carefully that you never actually watch it disappear. Now run your own version of that number forward. $10,000 a year, growing at 7%, for 30 years, comes out to roughly $946,000. Draw that down at 4% a year and it pays you around $37,000 a year for the rest of your life, on top of whatever else you've already got saved. That right there is the entire distance between the two trucks in that parking lot. And here's what a number that size actually looks like day to day, because $10,000 stops meaning anything the second you hear it out loud. It looks like checking your balance in the parking lot before you walk into the grocery store. It looks like quietly putting the second item back, not because you truly can't afford it, but because the math in your head has about a $40 margin of error and you're honestly not sure which side of it you're standing on. It looks like deciding the strange noise your van has been making is probably fine. That it looks like throwing the birthday party at your own house instead of the trampoline place, and telling your kid it'll be more fun this way, and your kid actually believing you. It looks like working full-time in a household earning above the American median income, and still being exactly one broken water heater away from a credit card decision. And none of that happened because anybody bought a jet ski. There's no yacht anywhere in this story. There's no single moment you could point to and call flatly stupid, only a decade of small, perfectly reasonable yes, said to people who were specifically trained to ask the question. So if you're running your own tally right now, and your total came in worse than you expected, and you're feeling that particular sick feeling that comes from realizing you paid for something you never actually chose, hear this part clearly. You didn't fail. You were outspent. Every single item on this list has an entire pricing team standing behind it, and in several cases, a lobbying operation that went out and deleted the very rules meant to protect you. Your overdraft cap, repealed. Your click-to-cancel protection, vacated. Your late fee cap, thrown out in court. All three, dead within 18 months, all removed by people who were paid specifically to remove them. You are not competing against an entire marketing budget using nothing but your own willpower and simply losing because you're weak. Nobody ever told you there was a competition to begin with. So here's your reframe: every single one of these 8 items is a business model built entirely on your default settings. Somebody, somewhere, profits every time from the box you never bothered to uncheck. Which means your fix was never discipline. It was never guilt. And it is absolutely not giving up your morning coffee. Your fix is attention, applied exactly once, in exactly 8 places, decline the warranty. Read your bank statement like it belongs to a stranger you're auditing. Finish the cancellation process all the way through the drop-down menu. Move your emergency fund somewhere that actually pays you interest. Look up your expense ratio right now, on your phone, this second. Buy the 3-year-old car instead. None of that requires you to earn a single extra dollar. None of it requires your willpower to hold up on a random Tuesday night at 9:40. You do each one exactly once, and it keeps paying you back forever, which happens to be the exact same mechanism they've been quietly running on you the whole time. Oh, and quickly, since we're already on the subject of things that compound quietly in the background, I run a community where I break down, step by step, exactly how to build and scale a faceless YouTube channel from absolute scratch. Every single strategy I've got across more than 10 channels is sitting in there waiting for you. Links are below this video. Here's where I landed after putting all of this together. There is no version of this where you win simply by being smarter than everyone else involved. The people designing these systems are genuinely very good at their jobs, but every single one of them needs the exact same raw material from you. Not your income. Not your intelligence. Your inattention. That's the raw material. That is the entire supply chain, start to finish. So you don't actually need to beat them. You just need to stop supplying them. And I keep coming back to the guy with the old thermos, not because he did anything wrong, but because if you could somehow stop him at any single one of those 8 moments and tell him exactly what it was about to cost him over time, he would have said no in about 4 seconds flat. Nobody ever stopped him. Nobody was ever supposed to. There was a line of people behind him, the kid at the register was waiting, and it was only $240. That's the entire genius of it. It's always a small ask in the moment, $240, or $9.99 a month, or 1%, and then 30 years later it's $946,000, and you can never quite point to the exact moment it actually happened. 8. Yes. That is the entire distance between the truck you drive because you want a bagel, and the truck you drive because you have no other choice. Go be the bagel guy. One last reminder, this video is educational only, and none of it is personal financial advice. Every result depends entirely on your own decisions and your own numbers, so go run them for yourself. Then tell me in the comments which of these 8 you're killing off first, because I genuinely read every one of them.